What's going on, awesome people? Durud bar hamegi. Welcome to another episode of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. My name is Iman Huschmand, and as always, it is a distinguished pleasure to be with you virtually and having all of you as part of this weekly program. If you're not familiar to what Countdown to Freedom in Iran is, it is the only weekly English-speaking live stream dedicated to what's happening in Iran. We do our best to provide you with the latest news and updates with our incredible uniter/journalist Paris Mansouri, who'll be joining us in just a couple minutes. And we also have Uniters updates, so you can kind of see what we're doing at Unite and Conquer as far as uniting Iranians and uniting Iranians via events, conversations such as this one, and also impactful conversations. So yeah, that's pretty much what Countdown is. Every Wednesday night, this is episode number 11. It's very exciting. Tonight's special guest is an incredible Iranian-American journalist, Lisa Daftari. So excited to have her. She is a Shirzan by definition, has been doing incredible work for the past 6 months, spreading news about Iran, and it's just been an honor to see a fellow Iranian putting so much of their heart and soul into this revolution. I hope you're doing well. I hope that the Nowruz festivities, even though we're going in the most craziest times right now, in some shape or form has been bringing you some joy, some happiness, being around loved ones, being grateful for all the great things that are happening in your life while, again, our people in Iran are fighting for freedom. So I know we're all kind of torn between these two different feelings, but we do have to try to find some hope and some light and some happiness, some joy, something to fill up our gas tank so that we can continue fighting the fight. And for every single one of you that continue to join us, you are part of this fight. So thank you so much for being part of this revolution. A couple things before I bring in Paris Mansouri. Y'all familiar with lavoshack.com? So my friend Nima, well actually he wasn't my friend before, I didn't know him, but I got to know him because of his kindness. Nima Adilkhani, the owner and founder of lavoshack.com, provided some stuff for our Bakhche event happening this Saturday, March 18th, which is sold out here in Miami. It's an event for Iranian professionals to come together. It's a Nowruz edition. He provided a bunch of Lavoshack samples, so I don't mean to tease you all, but I'm going to tease you. He sent multiple boxes, but I just wanted to share a couple of things you might know about some Lavoshack, and you might know about some other goodies that he's got. So anyway, so if you're coming to Bakhche on Saturday, we're going to have a bunch of different raffles, a lot of awesome people providing a lot of great things, and Lavoshack is one of those great things. And I want to also give a shout out to our sponsor, Signs R Us. Thank you to Sareh Kazemi, who's been an incredible supporter of everything we're doing Unite and Conquer, including this beautiful backdrop that they printed. And so she supported that event as being a sponsor, and we appreciate her. And so for all of your printing needs, I really hope that you turn to Shahla and her team at Signs R Us, because she is a Shirzan, she's a freedom fighter, and they're really great at what they do. So we have to support each other as much as possible. So give her a shout out, show her some love for anything print and design needs. This amazing lady will support you, I promise you. And just tell her that my friends at Unite and Conquer, that they sent her. So I'm sure they'll take care of you big time. All right, enough talking. I'm running out of breath already, probably because I'm excited. I'm excited to see all of you all. Some familiar faces and some new faces. If you're joining for the very first time, put your hand up and say that you're joining for the very first time, and go ahead and say where you're joining. If you have questions throughout the program, try to drop them in, and we'll do our best to address them. But we got a busy program. Paris Mansouri, Sareh Kazemi, Dr. Shiva Jahani, and Lisa Daftari joining us. So stick around, and let's get this party started. Help me welcome Paris Mansouri. Please help me welcome. Did I forget to press the button hard? Oh, no, this year. Okay, cool.
Hi.
Hi, Paris. Doing?
I'm throwing you
curveballs
tonight, Iman. No, same backdrop, but I want to know if our friends who at lavoshack.com deliver to Canada, if they're here, please drop that in the chat. We definitely need some of those up here and would love to support this incredible business. I love that idea. I remember like when we were kids and you could still get stuff delivered from Iran. It was like one of the best treats. So thank you. Like honestly, Iranians who are keeping our like unique not even traditions, like our unique specialties, treats alive. Like really, it's more than just the food. You're bringing a piece of home
It's
to us
amazing,
until we
and we've
get to
been
go
like, we
home.
were
So
kind of
thank
getting to
you.
know each other better. And he was also born and raised in Germany, like only like 2 years apart, and then he was there for 10 years. He came to America just like me. So the more that we started talking to him, I just realized we had a lot of parallels, and what he's doing for Iranians globally is great. And I do believe that they do deliver to Canada. So I think you're in good hands. But yeah, follow them on.
Amazing.
Uh,
Monajun, sorry, Monajun just put in the chat there. She's like, don't you have Lavashek in Iran? Yes, but we are all about supporting our compatriots. We are about supporting as many Iranian-owned businesses as possible. We are about shouting out as many as possible. So DM me, DM Iman, if you have stuff that you want the world to know about. This is what this show is about. To our English language speaking Iranians and anyone who is interested in our culture and our traditions and our foods and all of that, this show is for them. So this is the platform for you to tell the world about what you're doing. So anyone, literally anyone, drop the messages here, drop it in this chat.
Like
We'll be sure to
And also,
connect.
before I forget, Monday, March 20th, it's Nowruz, and I'm hosting the celebration of Nowruz 1402 right over here, a 12-hour IG live stream, 11:11 p.m. Eastern Time, all the way to 11:11, or excuse me, 11:11 a.m. Eastern to 11:11 p.m. Eastern. I hope you join us. Plenty of conversations with Uniters, with friends, with celebrities, right here on my IG Live, Monday, March 20th. Let's get right to it, Parachute. It is day 180 of this dreadful revolution that is becoming more painful every single day. But every single week you give us the latest news so that we can at least be abreast with what's happening. Let's start with the China, Saudi, Iran agreement, please. That'll be the first thing on the topic here.
Yes. Yes, this is the second curveball. I know that I didn't send this to you earlier as we're preparing the run of show, but actually I was looking over at the foreign desk and I saw that there was an announcement and, you know, an article that they posted about the girls from Ekbatan, the ones who are dancing to calm down. And unfortunately, I wasn't aware of this. They've disappeared. So we know that they were forced to create a confession video, but according to the foreign desk, they've now gone missing. So let's please, like, hashtag, you know, Ekbatan girls, let's please keep their story out there. This is, you know, we know that it's the law to you know, to be arrested essentially if you're in public without a hijab and if you're dancing and if you're, you know, not abiding by morality police rules. But this is absolutely atrocious. And, you know, our thoughts are, you know, with these girls. We all are aware of what they could be going through. So if we could keep their story going. And honestly, to our Iranian compatriots, this is one where this is like a viral video. The beat is recognizable. This is something anyone can be touched by. So let's please amplify the voices and make sure that everyone knows what's happening to these girls.
For those who don't know, the foreign desk was created by our special guest, Lisa Daftari. So it's an incredible news source that she's created, and we'll be talking to her more about it at around 8:35 p.m. Eastern Time when she joins us. Carry on, please, Parashah.
Yes, China-Saudi agreement. So looking over at my notes, there's a lot of like factual information. So if I'm looking down at my notes, I just want to make sure that I'm reading correctly from the notes I've taken. So the Islamic regime and Saudi Arabia have agreed to reestablish diplomatic relations. China brokered the deal. Now, a lot of people are like, what? Saudi and Iran don't get along? No, they don't. So here's a quick recap. Back in 2016, Riyadh cut political ties with the Islamic regime after their diplomatic missions in Iran were attacked. Now, why were they attacked? It's because, well, the excuse the Islamic regime is using is that Saudi had executed a prominent Shia Muslim leader over in Saudi Arabia. So regardless of the deal, Saudi obviously has really great relations with the United States. It has peace deals with Israel. So basically, it does not want to tread on the U.S. sanctions line. So as much as they've kind of made a peace deal right now, they are going to tread a line. And those who support the deal say that this is going to reduce tensions in Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq.
What about the relatives of the victims of flight PS752? There's all this court proceedings. There was rumors about it for quite some time, but apparently it became official in these past few days. What exactly came out?
So for those who haven't heard, last week the association announced the resignation of Dr. Hamid Esmailion as president and spokesperson. So this happened last week. This week we get the news that families of the victims of flight PS752 are suing the Association of Family Members. So they're demanding access to financial records and the release of detailed information about the substantial, quote unquote, finances, saying the money may have been used. So the donation, they're saying that essentially the donations we received may have been, quote, used for improper purposes. They also want the association to be examined by a public accountant or have its spending frozen until they make full financial disclosures. The lawsuit questions if the association is fulfilling its stated mission. And the stated mission, for those who don't know, is to seek justice for families of flight PS752 and to collaborate with all like-minded groups and to push the group to support a lawsuit against the Islamic regime. So this was the mission statement. It hasn't been done. Family members are coming forward and saying, like, enough is enough. We want action. The association has not named a new president. Since Hamid Esmaidoun has stepped down, he's no longer officially responsible for addressing these concerns or addressing what has happened. Kurosh Dustshenas is the organization's new spokesman, and he said he would not comment on the case out of respect for the legal process and the desire to protect its integrity.
Let's go on to another latest update from Monday. The head of Iran's judiciary said that the 22,000 people arrested in the recent anti-government protests that swept the Islamic Republic have been pardoned. That seems like such an exaggerated headline. Why don't you go ahead and dig deeper and spit some truth out of it? Not at all.
You don't believe
Is this the one from
You're
the interview
smiling.
with Christian Amanpour?
No, this is Hossein Mohseni Ejahi, and there was no immediate independent confirmation of the mass release. So this is the official government media pieces that are saying this happened, but we don't have any independent confirmation. The news comes ahead of Ramadan, and it's not unusual to hear about these kind of pardons around this time. The full statement, and I'm going to give it for you, is a total of 82,656 prisoners, and those facing charges have been pardoned. Of those, some 22,000 had been arrested amid the demonstrations, and they said that those pardoned had not committed theft or violent crimes, and we have no independent confirmation of this. So,
Lies. According to CNN, the Islamic regime has arrested more than 100 people over suspected poisoning of schoolgirls. This has been like ongoing for a couple of weeks now. What's the latest on this?
Yes, so that is what the Islamic Republic News Agency is saying. So a quick recap for those joining us and who aren't aware of the story. According to DW, the poisoning started in late November. They've affected more than 5,000 students in some 230 schools across 31 provinces in Iran. Now, CNN is reporting, they're citing IRNA, which is the Islamic Republic News Agency, saying that the Interior Ministry is saying that those arrested have been identified and investigated in several cities. And we have an official statement. It says, quote, initial inquiries showed that a number of these people, out of mischief or adventurism and with the aim of shutting down classrooms and influenced by the created psychological atmosphere, have taken measures such as using harmless and smelly substances. They say that, end quote, and they say they will continue the investigation, but that the number of poisoning cases at girls' school across the country is going down.
All the show, huh?
I say this with like the most sarcasm on my face. I'm trying to be professional, but
all right, let's go to there's a new survey. I've seen this everywhere that has been published by the Empirical Research and Forecasting Institute. What were their findings?
So this is the Empirical Research and Forecasting Institute. Like you said, the political stance in Iran, it was released February 28, 2023. Now, we have previously shared results from surveys. That is why we're releasing this. The authenticity is obviously up to every individual to check and to see if you would like to believe these findings. It is really important for you to do the research yourselves, but we're sharing the findings that are being shared across social media by experts and by news media. So we just want you to be aware of what it is that they're talking about. So essentially, they conducted the survey in February 2023 to examine examine attitudes towards politics in Iran. The target audience was the people of Iran. Over 9,000 people responded. They visited to the survey, and out of the 9,000, they took a sampling of 2,639 survey responders. And what they found, and again, this is according to the findings of this survey, this is not our statement. So the finding of the survey said that Masih Alinejad is the most mentioned influencer and celebrity, followed by Pura Zerati and Fardad Fahdad. The desire for Pahlavi nostalgia is further reflected in the survey's finding that 79.9% of Iranians overwhelmingly favor Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi over the current political leaders. And also they're suggesting that the Iranians do want a change in leadership. They say that 495,000 people only are loyal followers of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
In the entire country?
Those are their major findings. If you're interested.
495,000?
Yes. According to the Empirical Research and Forecasting Institute, the political stance in Iran released on February 28, 2023. These are not our statements.
Images of the faces, and there was Mariam Rajabi at 0%. I really, it was just beautiful to just kind of see the 0% there. That's just my personal opinion on that one. I'm not a journalist. I can share my thoughts. Okay.
You can. Please,
can
please
you
share
share
them more often.
updates about protesters and detainees?
Yeah, so the Islamic regime confirmed the death sentence of Habib Shab. He's a Swedish-Iranian man the regime abducted from Turkey 2 years ago. The charges against him are corruption on earth through the formation, management, and leadership of a group that is accused of carrying out violent acts. It's unclear when the sentence against Shab might be carried out. This is very similar to the story that we've shared of Jamshid Sharmad, the 67-year-old Iranian German journalist and software engineer. He was abducted in 2020. He was kidnapped in Dubai and also faced charges in a sham trial, and he's also been sentenced to death. And there's also Reza Nowruz, who we mentioned last week. He's an individual who is not getting that much traction, unfortunately. So please let's use his hashtag. Reza Nowruz, his wife and his children are also in jail. He's been in solitary confinement, suffered multiple consecutive days of torture, trying to extract a confession out of him, and he's resisting. So let's not forget him. Hashtag Reza Nowruz.
All right. And before we get to action items, you wanted to share two quick Nowruz facts. One that is about the year we're in, and the other about goldfish, right?
Yes. So the year everyone said it is what? Right. But I thought it would be interesting for Iranians who celebrate our history to know what the dates actually could be if our nation had not been invaded. So Iranians who do not associate themselves with the current regime, they could say happy 3761, which goes with the Zoroastrian calendar. So 3761. We could say happy 2575 according to the imperial calendar. But I don't know if a lot of people know this. If you go with our ancient calendar, with our really truly ancient calendar from the beginning of our history, we're in the year 7035. I get emotional because we forget 7,035, you guys. That's how long we have written history our nation has. Let's not reduce ourselves to 1402.
Now I feel bad calling Monday's event the celebration of Nowruz 1402. I should change to 7035, but it'll just confuse people. But that's why we have people like you coming to dropping some knowledge and clarifying things for us. So happy 7035 to you, Parishman, in advance. Pisha Pish, Nowruz the Tabik again. But yeah, it's amazing how this regime has managed to wipe out 6,000 years from our history. 5,000, amongst other things. All right, let's just to stay on track time-wise, what are the action items this week? What are the hashtags we're following this week it should be using?
So IRCG terrorists, the hashtag let's continue, hashtag save Sharmad, hashtag Reza Nowruz, and of course, let's not forget Tumash Salehi, Saman Yassin, Elnaz Mohammadi, Nilufar Hamedi, and of course the mainstays, hashtag Mahsa Amini and Iran
always
Revolution.
Have this beautiful final message for our listeners. Today you have two. Finish up with the two.
Yes. So as you're setting up your Hafsim, please remember that goldfish are not meant to be part of our Hafsin. They actually go against Zoroastrian tradition, which is what Nowruz is completely about. So call out anyone who's using goldfish, and please don't use them yourself. They're not meant to be objects in a little tiny bowl. They have feelings. Fish do have feelings. Look it up. And actually, there's a research finding around it, and you can DM me and I'll send you the research finding. And finally, our language is called Persian. When we're speaking in English, our language is not Farsi. وقتی به فارسی حرف میزنیم زبونمون هست فارسی، ولی وقتی به انگلیسی حرف میزنیم our language
You know what? I'm
is
going to write a letter to
Persian.
Mickey Mouse. And the video that Disney created today, there was a little fishy that was running around, and you know, I was like, oh my God, they're using a real fish. Paris is going to probably sue them. But yeah. And did you notice the part where, like, when the fish was outside of his bowl, he said nakon? So Mickey Mouse actually spoke Persian in his little segment with on Disney. It was beautiful. It was great to see Mickey Mouse, a childhood icon of ours, talk about Charsham Basuri, Nowruz, and Hafsin. It was a beautiful thing to wake up to this morning. And
I wish we had that growing up. But he got something else wrong too about jumping over the fire. But that's another story for another day.
There was some technical incorrectness in there, but it's okay. Overall, the message was great. All right, Paris, and as always, we appreciate you very much. Thank you for all the time that you take to drop this knowledge for us. Have a wonderful evening, and pisha pish. نوروز 7035 به تبریک میگم.
Thank you so much. The same to you and everybody who's been here, who've been watching. We hope that you enjoyed these segments. We see all of you, we see your comments. We're sorry, we're like super pressed for time and we didn't have time to properly acknowledge Azadeh, who you're here, Negin, Reza, Mona, who else? Shiva Jahani, like honestly, the producers for Countdown. Thank you for all that you're doing. But honestly, everybody else, we are so grateful, and we hope that if you're enjoying this, that you are sharing this broadcast. We do come on every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. What did I say?
Wednesday.
Okay, fire me. If anyone has a complaint box, it's Iman's
Thank you so much again. Say hi to your family. Ciao. All right, we're going to go to our Uniter segment. It's going to be Sareh Kazemi joining us in just a few seconds. We'll get to talk about Monday's program. Very excited to have Sareh Jun here. Hi, Sareh Jun. How are you?
Hi, Iman John. I'm well. How are you?
Great to see you. You're sporting some new glasses here this evening, I believe.
Reading glasses, so I don't have to be squinting, so I can see the comments today. I'm not actually asleep.
Good to see you. I'm sure you took care of the sleeping part a couple of hours ago.
Oh,
so now you're all
right. For sure. I'll always have a nap. Always.
It's great. Well, so sorry. Today, what we're going to talk about is Monday's program, which you've been gracious enough to somehow squeeze in and help out while you're planning Nowruz on your own. For those who don't know, the celebration of Nowruz 1402 is going to be a 12-hour IG live stream right here on my page, starting at 11:11 a.m. Eastern time, going to 11:11 p.m. Eastern time. You're going to be joining us for a little bit, right, Sareh Jun?
I am, Iman John. Anything to support continuing the conversation. And thanks to you for always being so creative, so always ideating on new ways to keep this conversation going. Your tenacity and keeping the momentum on this revolution amongst English-speaking Iranians is admirable.
Thank you. And yeah, so the idea is that we're going to have as many of the uniters hop on, hop off, chit-chat, reaching out to some of our most popular Iranians around the world that have been active in the revolution, many of which we've had on previous countdowns or the live stream rally back in November. The point is to just kind of reconnect with all those awesome people, have some conversations, ask them about their New Year's wishes, their hopes for Iran, and also maybe even just kind of what they're doing now to continue with this fight in Iran. And then there's going to be parts where I'm going to rely on people like you and perhaps Mona and other uniters, where we'll have 3-4 people on so that I can go take a 15-20 minute break so I can actually make it through the 12 hours. So
no breaks for you, Iman. No breaks. We can't. You're irreplaceable.
I have
no
to
one
go.
can fill your
I have
shoes.
to go Gish at least once every 2 hours. Pardon the French.
Pardon
the French. But if there are other people that have ideas on how to make this 12-hour program more watchable, enjoyable, wanting you to come on board, please drop it in the comments. The program is really something. I I did a program similar to this 2 years ago when we were still in pandemic mode. It was a celebration of Nowruz 1400, but I planned that one a month prior. We had celebrities from all over the world joining. It was a great program. This time around, I really just decided a few days ago, because I don't know about you, Sarah, but I think you'll agree, as much as we want to make it seem like it's a normal Nowruz, we all know it's not, you know? And so I was like, God dang it, I cannot continue just acting like Monday, March 20th, 2023 is normal. You agree, right?
100%, Iman. When I think about like what this Nowruz is, it's so critical to be able to connect and have this conversation, because there's so many feelings running everywhere. You want to be able to celebrate, but constantly in the back of your mind you have these feelings of guilt, you have these feelings of doubt of what if you're doing is actually appropriate. So be able to have a conversation with someone and be able to like commiserate or know that you're not alone in this, it truly helps you kind of move forward and think about this in a perspective that's actually healthy, rather than bringing you down and tearing you down in a silo.
For sure. And Morajo, thank you so much. Don't worry, I'm going to get my sabzi polo mahi at some point, even if it is going to be right here in front of you. But I mean, here's the way I look at it, Sarah, and anybody else that's watching. You have become an extended family of mine. And so for me, I don't look at stepping away from my immediate family to just go do work. You are my family. Everybody who tunes is my family. And I just figured that if I'm here communicating with a bunch of you all, we can make new connections. We can come up with better ideas. We can do just so much more by just spending Nowruz together. So here we are trying to work together to make it an impactful day for us.
Definitely, Manjun. And the feeling is mutual. I truly can't think of a better place I'd be other than obviously with my own family and with my extended family, whether that be in person or virtually. Yeah. And if it allows the other people to be able to log in even for 5 minutes to hear again the conversation that, man, people share the feelings I have. It is okay to, you know, celebrate what's good about this holiday for all of us, but also know that deep down within us, we have the revolution in our mind. We carry the hopes and dreams of the people of Iran forward, and we have every intention of continuing this momentum. And when I think about what my message would be, Iman, to, you know, for Nowruz, it's almost like a, you know how we have New Year's resolutions, right? For Nowruz, my resolution would be to get rid of 2 words, hopeless and helpless, because that gets rid of all of our power. And it's to remind yourselves on this Nowruz that you can manifest and you can control those feelings. Those are words and comment and feelings that are far too common amongst Iranians inside or outside of Iran. And we really need to come to the level of consciousness to know that we have the power to change those feelings. We can manifest that simply by saying, like, you know, I am powerful. I am able to help in any degree possible. I can take action right now. I have my phone at my fingertips. I have someone I can tag. I have a hashtag I can post. I have a weekly countdown I can listen into that will give me meaningful action items. At a minimum, I can share the countdown conversation, right? You are not hopeless. You are not helpless. And at any minute, you can change that feeling. You have the power. And is our second to influencing our world leaders and our political representatives, second to that only is you maintaining your individual power and knowing that you can manifest feelings of power and change and influence simply by pushing out those feelings of helplessness and hopelessness.
Beautiful. You got me even more excited for Monday's program. And I want to make sure that if it's okay with you, to have Sabo a little bit on as well, to just say hi. We need as much family, little kiddos around, because Nowruz is for kids, you know. We got to make sure that they're involved in some capacity. All right, Sergeant, we're running a few minutes behind, so I have to say goodnight. But thank you so much for being here tonight. And thank you in advance for your help for Monday's program.
My pleasure. Shabbat khair.
All right. So up next, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be another uniter, Shiva Jahani, joining us. Please, Shiva Jun, go ahead and request to join. For those of you who don't know, Shiva is a professor in the College of Community Innovation and Education at the University of Central Florida. And here she is. I'm going to go ahead and bring her in because we're behind schedule. And after Shiva Jun, it's going to be Lisa Daftari joining us. So stay tuned. Don't leave here. We have a lot of great content still to be shared. Hi, Shiva Jahani, how are you? Great. Great to see you.
Great.
It's been a couple of weeks. I hope you had a good Charsham Basuri. We're gonna jump right into what you had as today's topic, and that was breathe first, prioritizing stress coping. Elaborate, please.
Okay. So let me, as always, ask you a question. How do you know you are breathing?
How do you know I'm breathing? Well, I'm still alive, so I think that's one sign.
Okay, what else? What are you noticing now? And how just answer my question. How
I notice my big stomach getting bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. I notice my heartbeat.
Okay.
Are these trick questions?
Okay, great. So this is, yeah, I just try to, get my specific answer about, your sensations, and also noticing something, like details about your breath, because that give us the awareness. So this the first step for, controlling our, emotions is awareness. So we have to be aware of, what do we feel? Am I anxious? Am I relaxed? This is like first question. Then we all, when something happened unexpected, ask ourselves, what do I feel when I'm anxious? What do I feel when I'm stressed out? And so this is question that we are posing to ourselves. And as you all may know or may not know, the stress and anxiety have a major impact on our health and our well-being. So, knowing and learning strategies and techniques that can help connect us to our heart and, controlling our emotion is a tremendous value. So that's important, and new studies shows that breath work should be in our, top of our list. When we just say, and I know you're aware, sometimes you're posting about different relaxation, like a physical relaxation, mental relaxation, or social relaxation. Like, for example, for physical relaxations, like yoga, you're saying, do yoga, or do walking or stretching, breath work. So those are, for physical relaxation. We are suggesting people do it. For mental, we say meditation, taking nap, listening to the calm music, or walk, do some connect to nature, walk in the nature. And also for like a social, social rest or relaxation, we say, okay, stay away from your phone and any devices for a while, or just, stay alone if you feel safe. So those are, are we suggesting for people to just experience some kind of rest and peace and this. But again, studies shows breathing and breathing technique should be on our, first and on our, top of our list. And I'm also suggesting the same. First of all, and first step in breath work is awareness. And I ask you, how do you feel? So that's what we all have to ask ourselves. How do I feel? And be aware of your, your breath, and just, and then decide and say, what can I do? What breathing technique works for this time for me? Because not all of breathing technique works for all, not fit, one fit for all. So that's the reason I decided for IG Live, every time I'm producing, I'm introducing one, like for example, for today is awareness. Then I ask you, as they call it, breath awareness. So then, you are taking first step, checking in yourself, and then when you are centering, settling, then you just deciding redirecting your or your focus, or you're distracting with just counting your breath and something to do. So I want to just do some practice.
Good. I love these little exercises with you, so let's go.
Okay, great. So let's first do with the breath awareness. So just, shoulder back down and chest forward. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. And through nose, inhale through nose and exhale long, nice and deep. Good. Now, if you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and tell us about your feeling, because reflection and reflecting of your practice help you to just be aware of what's going on, and you just kind of practice. نفس عمیق yes, نفس بکش. Yes. We always have to tell ourselves نفس بکش.
I mean, like you immediately have a little sense of calmness and relaxation, like more groundedness. It's just a few breaths, but it definitely slows the heart rate pretty quickly.
Great. And then this is what we always, when we starting to noticing something, happening in our body, that help us to control our emotions. So that's the first step we are taking. A second step, we are going to, to utilize our breath as a tools to match with our body's need. So we should know what our body needs. So we have to ask ourselves, what do I need? Like, that is matching. So this is so important for breathing techniques, that we match breath work with our body's need. So that's what is every types of breath work we can apply and practice. It's like a yoga. Yoga is that there are many different types, but you have to practice and find out and figure it out which one fit for you as this person. That what do you need today? What do I feel today? So that's what I'm suggesting people practice different types of breath work and just find out which one is fit for them, for that need of their body, for that day, and just reflection of after practicing. And then I'm going to do another.
We have like 2 minutes to go, just because we're a little behind schedule. But if you could do it in 2 minutes, let's do it.
Okay. No, it's good. We do for next time. Just
do you want to explain PAR before you go? The present, aware, alert, and reflective.
Yeah, I just want to say about the 4 things is so important about breathing is just be present, be aware, be alert, and be reflective. So those are things that with breath work we always, because when you are aware, the first step awareness, you are aware. When because of you are aware, then you are in your present. So this is like living your life and living every moment. So that is important, because every moment, every day, you have opportunity to change, everything and functioning differently. So that is what Sarah June was saying. So we all have opportunity to be present, to be alert, to be also, I'm adding, be happy and be in peace. So those are coming from, this is our opportunity to utilize our breath to match it with our need. So that's what my last sentences for this.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share all this valuable stuff with us. You always bring us peace and serenity. So keep on doing that. Of course, looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully you have time to join us on Monday's program for a little bit. So we'll do one of these. I'm gonna need some calmness and relaxation during that 12 hours. So we'll be in touch about that. All right. So
thank you so much.
ladies and gentlemen, in just a couple of minutes, we're gonna have the amazing Lisa Daftari joining us. She's gonna be coming on soon. I thought it's a good time for me to give a little bit of her bio, because it's an incredible bio, and when I was reading it, I already knew she was a badass doing some incredible stuff, but then when I actually saw the bio, I was like, this is definitely a bio that I want to read from start to finish, so as Iranians we can be proud of what this woman has done already. So Lisa Daftari is an award-winning investigative journalist, political analyst, and commentator, frequently appearing on Fox News, CNN International, CBS, NBC, PBS, Al Jazeera, Voice America, and SiriusXM, focusing on foreign policy topics such as the Middle East and North Africa, terrorism, national security, human rights, cybersecurity, and more. Lisa also serves as a director and founding director of the Foreign Desk. We were mentioned that earlier with Paris. It's a news platform covering stories and analysis from around the globe, with an emphasis on their impact on U.S. foreign policy. She is a host of the acclaimed The Foreign Desk podcast, and also publishes a popular daily top 10 email briefing with the day's most vital foreign affairs stories, reaching 250,000 monthly subscribers. Her exclusives appear on The Drudge Report, Fox News, The Telegraph, Newsweek, CNN, the Huffington Post, and the Washington Post. If you don't already follow the Foreign Desk, please give it a follow. It's a lot of great information, especially nowadays, given what we're going through in the revolution. Lisa is regularly called upon to give briefings and expert testimony to government and private entities, and has worked for several think tanks in Washington, where she has written exclusive reports for the Pentagon and other government groups. She holds a master's degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Southern California, Annenberg School of Journalism, and completed her undergraduate degree in Middle East Studies, Spanish, and vocal performance at Rutgers University. And in 2006, she was invited to show her documentary film about an Iranian underground political movement in Congress, calling for global attention on human rights abuses and regime change in Iran. The reason why I'm sharing this is because, you know, her journey to covering what's happening in Iran didn't just happen 6 months ago. She's been doing it for years, even having a documentary about it back in 2006. She's also an avid opera singer and pianist. I'm going to ask her to sing here tonight. No, I'm just joking. In 2018, she did a popular TED Talk on fake news. We all know about fake news. Lisa has been named one of the 30 hottest women in politics by the Washington Times. She grew up in the suburb of New York City and currently lives in LA with her husband and baby boy. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Lisa Daftari. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. Appreciate you joining and being a part of this program. Let's help me welcome Lisa Daftari. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We made it.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you
I'm
so
sorry.
much
I'm sorry for that scare.
It's good. It keeps me on my toes, right?
So good to have you a part of this program. First of all, let me just say Khasta nabashi and a massive thank you as an Iranian. Just grateful for having people like you, and happy to have you a part of Countdown tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to join your program.
Of course, my pleasure. So, you know, it's been a crazy time for journalists, you know, covering the Middle East, but extra busy professionally, personally, and emotionally for Iranian journalists such as yourself. So I really want to just kind of start off by asking, how are you doing, you know?
Thank you for asking that. It's exhausting, but, you know, I think so many of us, including yourself, are so fueled by what's going on, and in different ways, right? So at first it becomes you know, work of passion, and you're like, you know what, I have this duty at this point, this responsibility to tell the world about what's going on, and I can be the intermediary, I could be the go-between, I can translate, I can, you know, tell people, if I know media, if I have media context, I need to use them, if I can translate, I need to do that. And for that reason, you know, the first, I think, 4 months were like no sleep, no weekends. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But, you know, like I said, it just kept us going. I know all of us, just like yourself, who, you know, just that's how it goes. I think that my entire career has been really built upon that. And I tell people, I spoke last night at the Pacific Club in Newport Beach, and half the room, maybe more, were American. But it's so interesting to see so many people interested in this cause, but particularly for Iranians. I know myself, I was born in the United States to Iranian parents. I mean, I now do interviews in Farsi, I read and write Farsi, but I've never been to Iran. And now it seems like every day I'm traveling to Iran in some capacity, but I've never been to Iran. And yet I was born with this like responsibility, on this burden on my shoulders to tell the world how different the Iranian people are from their government. And I told people last night the story of how, you know, my first term paper in 8th grade, I chose to write about the Iranian Revolution, not as a historic piece, but more so to say the people of Iran are so different from their government. You know, they don't ride on camels, they're not terrorists, they don't eat on the floor, they're sophisticated, modern, educated people, and here they are, and to present them to the world. So imagine from 8th grade till now, this is something that's been a part of my psyche. And then when I decided to go into journalism, it kept drawing me towards, you know, foreign policy, counterterrorism, and then obviously Iran, Middle East coverage. So to answer your question, yes, I think we're all very tired, but we are all so driven, and we have a long way to go, but I feel like we're also blessed to have this opportunity to have a front seat at something so historic for our people. And if we have the opportunity to have a piece of that, to be a part of that, to offer a hand in that, then we're very blessed to be here.
Well, I'm very curious. You mentioned that, you know, in 8th grade, you wrote a paper on this. You know, those first 10, 12 years are very formidable years. What was the catalyst in you choosing that topic? Like, was your family into you know, the revolution stuff in '79. Like, may I ask what got you into
Yeah,
it?
it's interesting. I don't really know. I can't, meaning I can't really pinpoint it. My father was a study abroad student to New York in the 70s. And he met my mother on one of the spring breaks or whatever. He went back to Iran, and they thought they were just going to come back, to go back to Iran when his studies were finished. But then the revolution happened and they ended up staying. So I'm really one of the lucky ones in the sense that I never had to go through that. I don't have stories about, you know, leaving through Kandahar or, you know, in the back of a pickup truck or, you know, having to go through coyotes or anything like that in that sense. But I think in a way, I do owe it to my parents in the sense that they're not political, but they're very aware. They're smart people. I mean, there's always good conversation at our table. So I do remember as a child going to, you know, friends' tables, and they're talking about, you know, what restaurants they went to and what vacations they're going to, which is wonderful. But I think our dinner table conversations were much more deep about current events, about things like that. So I realized once I was in college that, you know, when I would raise my hand in class and just say something that was basically something like that, the conversation of commentary, just like we would have at our dinner table conversations, that was enough for political commentary. So I remember telling one of my college roommates one day, I'm like, I wish I could have a job where I just sit around and talk about this like this. And it was exactly intro to the modern Middle East class. And, you know, talk
So
about
yes, so
manifestation, right?
you've been living for this all your life. I mean, pretty
Yeah,
much.
basically, just to talk, which I love to do, and to really connect the dots for people. I think that's the main goal for us here as the facilitators, is to, even in this conversation, is to raise awareness, bring people's attention to things that are important and why it should be important to them. It's not just, you know, we live in a day and age where, you know, there's like all these social justice movements, like you should care about X, Y, and Z. No, you know, I think we also live in a time where people have things going on. You know, after the pandemic, the world turned into a crazy place. People have, you know, economic worries, and they have health issues, and they have so many other stresses in life that, yes, you should care about things that are beyond your family and your world, but it should also make sense. Meaning, if it really touches you, it will no longer be kind of a chore, but more so that you believe in it. And I see so many people of different backgrounds, different faiths, different colors. You know, when you go to these protests for Iran, or last night at this talk that I gave, that have never been to Iran. They hardly knew about Iranian people before this movement, but now have joined the cause because they truly understand it. And that's where connecting the dots, you know, does the trick.
Well, what I really appreciate about how you connect these dots is that, first of all, you speak the truth, again, and you don't care about the pushback that you might get from the truth, because it might go against the grain of what maybe mainstream media wants to be talking about, you know. And we have Iranian journalists that unfortunately don't do that, you know, and like they're not truly speaking on behalf of the Iranians that need Iranian journalists, especially the ones in America that have the freedom of speech, to be able to share this. So you've been a truth teller, and I'm so sad that I didn't appreciate how genuine of a truth teller you've been until the last 6 months, where I really got to follow what you've been doing and how you've been saying certain things so steadfastly, so confidently, knowing, I'm sure, that you're going to get certain pushback from certain group of people. So kudos to you for really just having this moral compass before anything else. And that's a true journalist. You know, there's so much ethics and integrity that goes into your profession, and you do it to the highest caliber. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. But now tell me a little bit more, kind of talking about mental health. You talked about how intense it was the first few weeks, and I'm sure it's been ebbs and flows. Has there been times where you just wanted to kind of step away and just kind of like need to reset? Like, can you kind of talk about mental health a little bit here?
Absolutely. So there was a time where, I'm sure you remember, I mean, there are videos of, you know, the Basij running over people with motorcycles 15 times, making sure the guy's dead. I mean, I got to a point where I wasn't watching the videos anymore. My team was finding the videos. I was, you know, basically doing the translation. They would send me the Farsi. I would give them the translation, and I would just tell them, explain to me, you know, describe to me what's going on in the video, because I can't watch it anymore. I just couldn't. You know, I would step away from it in the sense that it was debilitating, right? So if I want to move forward, if I want to march forward, then I have to stay strong in a certain sense, and I just was too weak and sensitive, you know, to watch this stuff or just stomach this stuff. So yes, a lot of it, you know, the children, I still, if I see, you know, a child was killed, I quickly, if it's Instagram, I go really quickly. I can't. I have a 3-year-old son, and when I hear about this stuff, I cannot. And I know, and I've said this many times, it's not lost on any one of us sitting in a comfortable place, you know, what type of price the Iranian people are paying, you know, and that's our generation. And, you know, a friend of mine said something interesting, said, you know, in our parents' generation, perhaps many of us who are in a quote unquote comfortable place, many of our parents actually paid the price to get into that comfortable place, whether it was, you know, moving to a place and not knowing the language, leaving behind everything and not going back. You know, in the case of my family, like losing their homes and not being able to go back, and, you know, getting into trouble. I know people whose relatives were killed and they can't go back. They can't even go back to visit. You know, there's so much. So this is generational. That's my point. And I wrote a piece in 2008. It was an op-ed, and it was a letter to the Iranian people from us. And it basically talked about how we've also gone through different hardships, you know, on a different scale. And I'm not trying to say they're equal, but on a different scale. I think that's what is bringing a lot of Iranian people throughout the world together, whether in Canada and Europe and the United States, Iran, throughout the Middle East. It's bringing them together because at some point in the last 44 years, many of us have experienced, you know, generational pain. So that could be, you know, family discomfort, watching someone you love get killed, watching someone you love experience any sort of hardship because of this regime. And because of that, it brings us together in this unity, in this common goal to bring down the regime. And I'm so proud of the Iranian people for continuing. It's easy to say, you know, to your child, don't go out onto the streets because this happened to so-and-so, or our neighbor was killed, or your brother was killed, or your sister was killed. But they're not doing that for the most part. You're seeing them come out onto the streets. You're seeing the mothers that risk themselves getting arrested, you know, sitting in front of Evin prison or wherever else, and, you know, risking arrest themselves because they just can't take it anymore. And I do hope that this is not in vain, that regardless of how this turns out, and I hope for the best, that the Iranians get to a point where this is the tipping point, meaning at this point, it only becomes a matter of when and not if. And I truly hope that all of our efforts are not in vain, and that we can continue being empowered by the people who are doing so much for us as well.
Well, actually, on that note, as someone who has both a macro and micro view of, you know, this whole revolution, are you hopeful for the future, or are you worried? What are your thoughts?
Okay. How honest do you want me to be?
Well,
Okay.
Knowing what I've known about you now in the last 6 months, there's no such thing other than honesty. So go ahead.
Truthfully, I'm a very optimistic person. So yes, I have this very tough job, and a lot of people think I'm very tough, but I'm actually very sensitive and very optimistic, and I'm a dreamer. And if you would have asked me about a month ago, I would have said, this is it. And whoever asked me, I would have said, no way, there is no way. And I'll tell you multiple reasons. A, the people are not backing down. This momentum cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped. Meaning, exactly the point that I made. If you watch someone get killed in front of you, you have two options. Either you're going to get scared away from this regime, or you're going to fight back 10 times as hard. And that's what we're seeing from the Iranian people. Like harsher than, like in the Farsi, you know, they've become emboldened by what's going on. So in that sense, it's beautiful, right? So they have a vendetta, they're united, all the right ingredients. Opposition. They have had, you know, mixed messaging. They have not been united. They have backed down. They have been scared by the killings. We've seen this in Alban, November 2019. We saw this in the Green Revolution of 2009. You know, they were very much deterred by lack of media support, lack of Washington support. This time around, of course, they want all those things, but they are going forward steadfastly. The reason why my opinion shifted a bit in the last month is because I traveled to Washington, D.C. for a couple of briefings. And at that point, if you remember, I tweeted something that went pretty viral, and I said, Khamenei, the supreme leader in Iran, has more friends in Washington than he does in Tehran. And that was absolutely my experience going throughout. And it's not that I was naive to these things, but it was really so much more exaggerated than I had known. It's not only the lobbyists that are shilling for the regime. It's not just that. It's not just that. It is this code of brotherhood with the regime in Iran, where it is very difficult to have any legislation passed about Hezbollah, about the Houthis, about the Revolutionary Guard. These are terrorists. I mean, if our government is dilly-dallying around whether or not to punish terrorists, what kind of hope could we ever have for them helping us in regime change? And we already know they already came out and said they're not going to support regime change. Secondly, we have a president who he campaigned, before he even became president, campaigned on getting back into the Iran nuclear deal as his crown jewel of foreign policy. So he saw what Obama did and he said, you know what, that's going to be my, like, you know, big wow, you know, moment in foreign policy. And it's easy because Trump pulled out. I will get back in. And whatever Trump does is so bad in the view of so many Americans that if he just does a 180 on what Trump did, then he's golden. No one's going to argue with him. And it's absolutely true. I was on NBC News on Friday night and I was just blown away at the prompt of the message. The host asked me, you know, it wasn't Biden's fault that the nuclear deal didn't go through. It's actually Trump's fault for pulling out. And here I am trying to explain, well, the nuclear deal is not even something that the Iranian people want. They don't want normalized relations with this regime. They do not want reforms under this regime. And the nuclear deal was just a piece of paper. They still enriched uranium at 84%. They still went forward with all parts of their nuclear program. They didn't let the inspectors in. So I'm here like a mile a minute, putting down all the facts very quickly for TV news. And the host just got mad. He just got mad because I'm going against what their talking points are. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's so important to know that nothing in terms of Iran policy right now is based on facts. If it were, give me one reason why this regime should be in power. One positive quality that they have for their own country, for the region, for US assets, for European assets, for global security. I mean, zero. They have nothing that's positive. And I can name you a million things that they're doing that are negative, including human rights abuses. I mean, the UN and the US care so much about human rights. What happened? I mean, what happened? Why do they stop at Iran? You know, we just gave up the opportunity to make a deal with Saudi Arabia, and Biden was very much upset with Saudi Arabia for so many years because of human rights. And then you look at the regime, you know, what they're doing on the streets to these young women, to young children, to peaceful protesters. And it's like, where's the Me Too movement? Where's the social justice? Where are all these things that they have, the feminists, all the things that, you know, up to now we've been told is what we should be doing. So that's the reason why I've become more pessimistic about what's going on. But the optimistic point in that being, regardless of when that moment comes, the Iranian people and those who support them need to be prepared. So if it's not going to be under the Biden administration, let them play out the clock for another year and a half. And hopefully, God willing, whoever comes into office next will be more supportive of the cause. And at that point, the Iranian people will be united and ready to go.
Well, two things. I think that we all truly would want this to be a revolution from the people. So, I'm like, okay, fine, America. We don't need you. We're going to continue to fight, but we're going to let the time run out. But the other question is, do you think that Khamenei has friends in Washington with regards to the Democrats, or is it just the U.S.? And maybe the policy would be a little different if it was Trump or a Republican coming in, or is this just an American government thing? What's your thought on that?
I don't think it's, listen, Trump's, if you want to be more specific, so Trump stopped short of also calling for regime change. If we remember, like Nikki Haley at the UN called it behavioral change. Trump didn't call for a regime change. He actually called it the maximum pressure campaign, and he put severe and effective sanctions on Iran, which was great because we got an opportunity to see it works. At least do that. If actually the Biden administration would have continued with the maximum pressure campaign, perhaps the Iranian people wouldn't need the U.S. to come out and say, we want regime change. We want this guy to be in office in Iran. You're right. We don't need that. The Iranian people don't need that. They want this to be a grassroots, very organic movement from the people for the people. But that being said, we're very far from that right now. The Biden administration has stepped away from the JCPOA, the nuclear deal, but that is still their policy. So when I was in Washington, people very wrongly say the Biden administration doesn't want to commit to an Iran policy right now because of the blunders that were made in Syria and in Iraq and in Afghanistan. That's not true. It's not that the Biden administration doesn't have an Iran policy. The Biden administration is exactly following their Iran policy. And they may have taken a hiatus from the Iran nuclear deal, but their end game is still diplomacy with Iran's regime. And we don't know what that's going to look like. They're still trying to get back into it. I actually have a hunch that in the next few months, definitely before the end of Biden's term, there will be some sort of diplomacy between the US and Iran's regime. Perhaps they'll just get the money without even signing anything. Because at this point, yeah, there won't be a nuclear deal. Listen, what is the nuclear deal? I mean, look at the reports that come out daily. They're 2 weeks away. They're 1 day away. They're 3 hours away. They either have a nuclear weapon or they're very close to it. So I don't know what this deal is going to do other than fool people into believing that we needed to do this. We needed to give them the money. We needed to normalize relations. We needed to remove the sanctions. And we need to be so nice to these mullahs. That's how they cover up their line of thinking. This is an ideological move. It is not based in any sort of logic or any sort of true good policy for the United States, but it's their line.
They're putting lipstick on a pig, as they say. But on a closing note, I would love to talk to you more, Lisa Jahani. But you know, I'm so appreciative of what you do as an Iranian American journalist, and I wish that we could duplicate you. And I hope that younger Iranian Americans, whether male or female, they're motivated and inspired by you to go into this war so they can be a louder voice for us. So having said that, have you had any career or professional learning lessons, moments in the past 5 months that perhaps future journalists or people that are in this field, they could kind of learn a little bit from you and what you've learned?
Yeah, I think trust your gut. Really, there have been times in the last 5 months where I come to post something because I know it'll go viral, or I have a chance to bring someone on my show because I know it'll get a lot of hits. But I've actually canceled 2 interviews in the same day, meaning I had a gut feeling about a person, and it turned out both times were true, meaning that person was not true to our movement and was later questioned. Look, I know right now people are throwing a lot of accusations around and people are skeptical of each other. You know, it's very difficult, right? Because you never know, right? Like in a few months, it'll turn out that this person's getting a check from the regime, and this person used to be with Zayak, and this one used to be with MEK, and this one used to be this, and they tie these kinds of affiliations to a lot of people. But my true advice to anybody in any field, in any part of life, would be to really be true to yourself. You might lose out on that post or that episode or those clicks or that friendship or that party or whatever it may be in your case, but it's really important to maintain your reputation, your integrity, and not to just do things because at the moment it's the cool thing to do. It's very difficult to then go clean up after that than to not do it to begin with. You know, I think a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you bring so-and-so on? And then you realize, nah, you know. So, yeah, trust your gut, trust yourself.
You could be very good friends with Paris Mansouri, who's our journalist here at Uniters, and she's been really that person that really has been digging deep and has been calling out people way in advance before others are catching on, you know. And so, like, you're absolutely right. I mean, you got to be true to yourself, be full of integrity, and that's what you've been, and that's why you're kicking so much ass and why you're such a valuable soldier, general in this entire revolution. So thank you so much.
I think it's really important. Just one last thing: keep this movement very pure. I think the Iranian people fought so hard for this to be hijacked by any external influences. So we'll do our best to just convey their message. Thank you so much for having me and for all the wonderful work that you do as well.
Thank you. And all the Uniters, we have your back. Anything that we can do to help out with what you're doing, we're here for you. If you're ever in South Florida, we'll roll out the Persian carpet for you as well. We'd love to have you. Have a great Nowruz as best as possible given the circumstances, and say hello to your husband and your 3-year-old boy.
Thank you so much. Have a good Nowruz.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was a distinguished pleasure having Lisa Daftari here with us. I hope you enjoyed the program. Feel free to show her some love as she's exiting. I hope you enjoyed the program. It was great for me. I love the direction that we're going. I'm so grateful for our Uniters producers that have been helping make this happen. I'm grateful for all of you that continue to show up every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And all the commentary. I'm sorry if I don't always get to respond to all of them, but I see you, I appreciate you, and together we will win this fight. Don't give up, you know, don't give up. Thank you again to Shiva Jahani from Signs Are Us for being a sponsor of Bakhche this Saturday. It is a sold-out event in Miami. So happy to see all of you for our Nowruz edition of Bakhche. And once again, shout out to lavashak.com and Nima for providing a lot of great Lavoshak goodies. There's about 5-6 other boxes here. Hambastagi, ladies and gentlemen, we have to continue to unite if we want to conquer. So whether it's supporting each other, to be friends, to be a shoulder to cry on, to ear to listen to support each other's businesses, we have to continue to do this. This is the one thing that Iranians need to do so much better, and that is to truly, truly support each other in any shape or form. You know, have those vulnerable conversations, refer other business owners that you know that are Iranian, that are working their asses off, and, you know, tell people about a better job opportunity that they can get into, help each other out, lift each other up, be that lending hand. And as we continue to do this, our community will get stronger and stronger. And start with your local community, wherever you are. South Florida has a very small community of Iranians, so we might be tiny, but we're freaking mighty. You can't mess with us. So without any further ado, that's all. Don't forget, on Monday, March 20th, the celebration of Nowruz, 1402, 11:11 a.m. until 11:11 p.m. Eastern. I will be here doing an IG Live. You're going to see a lot of our uniters. You're going to see a lot of celebrities. You're going to see a lot of cool people that are doing amazing things in this revolution. Be kind, be grateful. Love you guys.